Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one T McBee. That's Terry McBride here as we get ready for Tuesday's slate. Oh, wait, no! The Lost Podcast. Guys, I just want you to know, and ladies, if you're listening as well, DMs are always open. But I want to let you know that we had a lovely podcast recorded, an hour-long version, and yours truly somehow corrupted the file. So second time in 4 years this has happened, several hundred podcasts, and that was just the second time. So we'll live with it, but poor Terry had put out the hot fire, let me guarantee it. So every home run that's happened so far, he talked about. Good job, Terry. I hope you're at the top of the leaderboards.
That's it. I mean, you too, man. I mean, we were just on point about everything. And, sometimes you just got to ride those little tiny errors and fight on through. So hopefully we'll be just as accurate tonight for everybody. I think we will. So we'll get into it. This one, I'm sure, is recording, so everybody will hear us.
All right. Well, we're just jumping right in because we have slates abounding. So the first order of business is to let you guys all know that there are two doubleheaders. These are going to be 7-inning doubleheaders. That is the new rule that is out there. Now, thus far, the only sites that have them, nobody has game twos on their main slate. This is going to be game one only. It has a DraftKings slate where it's Philly at New York, game one of the doubleheader, and then Miami. Wait, is it Miami? Yeah, Miami at Baltimore, game one of the doubleheader. The secondary games are not in anybody's main slate. We went and looked. FanDuel, DraftKings, SuperDraft, Yahoo. They don't have them in. Yahoo, however, if you want to have a little bit of fun, has a 16-game slate. They are including game ones. They're not including game twos, but they are including game ones, and they're all-day slate. Prize pools are really tiny. But if you want to get cute, maybe you go with the pitcher or something, I guess. But you just know that those are 7-inning games. So the other thing that's a little tricky is we've got some remnant weather out there, and then always the ever lurking issue of COVID. So we're gonna we're gonna skip that 4:00 slate because we don't know who the pitchers are yet on the Miami Baltimore side, and we're just guessing because we saw a litany of people hit the DL for the Marlins with illness related issues. So we don't know what's gonna happen because like 3 or 4 of their rotation went on the DL. So you're just like, oh boy, I don't know what's going to happen there. So we're skipping that one. And then Philadelphia, New York, it's Nola and it's Montgomery. Those are probably going to be the best two pitchers because I did see Caleb Smith was one of the people that went on the injured list for Miami. Now, we also have some sites having a 2-game 6:00 slate. We're going to talk about that one. So we've got New York, the Mets at Washington, game 2 of their series, and Boston at Tampa Bay. So in this one, I'm just going to turn you loose. Just hit on the pitching. We've got Rick Porcello going against Max Scherzer. We know Scherzer is very, very good, but he's been dealing with a sore back. So we'll have to see what happens. He had a nice long layoff with the Nationals sitting out their scheduled series with the Marlins. So he should be good to go, but there's always that risk that he gets the quick hook. And then you've got Martin Perez going against Tampa Bay. He gets the Tropicana field boost. On the other side, we have Ryan Yarbrough, who's a solid pitcher, but he's got to go against Boston. What stands out for you here, and how willing are you to go to Scherzer with, say maybe an 80 pitch count being realistic for him?
Pretty willing. I think 80 pitches out of Max is probably going to be your best bet out of these 4 pitchers. I like Yarbs, but not really in the spot. It's not a great matchup for him. I think we probably lean into Max pretty heavy if we're playing the 2-gamer here. Like you said, he had a few days off. Hopefully the back is healed. He's got that bulldog reputation anyway. Hates coming out of games. So you feel like if anybody is a guy that you can bet on to fight through for 6 innings, even if he's got a little bit of pain, it's going to be a Max Scherzer. We love the matchup here. He's a stud, 35% strikeouts the last 3 years, 6.7% career walk rate. Just there's not a better pitcher on the planet, really, than Max Scherzer. So he's a guy we want to get to all the time. I think he can dominate this Mets lineup. We've seen some, diminished Mets lineup coming out with McNeil hurt, Cespedes leaving the team. So we'll see who's in for the Mets tomorrow. It could be a very, very good spot for him. Rick Porcello is a guy you just avoid. I think we target Rick Porcello with some Nationals bats tomorrow. He's given up 9 earned runs in his 6 innings as a Met so far. He was a 5.14 FIP last year for Boston. Doesn't look like they're getting the Porcello every other year benefit here in Queens. So guy I would target with bats. Same thing for Martin Perez. Not a guy I like at all to go to really as a pitcher. 14% strikeout, 8.4 walk. So, limited strikeouts. Not a really great DFS guy. Guy who right-handed hitters can get to with the bats a little bit. So I think maybe we target some right-handed Rays bats here.
All right, now for the the FanDuel slate, Scherzer's 11,000, Yarbrough 75, Perez 67, Porcello 64. DraftKings literally just spawned their slate. They're doing their newer format, their turbo format, where it's one pitcher, two infielders, two outfielders, and two utilities. Scherzer is just 12,000, which compared to Yarbrough, who is 10.4, Porcello is 9.3, and Martin Perez is 8,100. You're going to want to look or consider playing the ownership game. I would suspect with this pricing, if we click on Scherzer, we have 6,300 to spend for the rest of our hitters. There are eight of the math was never my strong suit. 8 of the 36 starters, 8 of the 36 players in the player pool. Pardon me, let me phrase that. 8 players are above that average. We get 36 starters tomorrow. 9 plus times the DH or 4, so everybody's gonna have Scherzer. So if you're playing if you're playing the little cash games or little 3-mans to have some fun, roll with Scherzer, take the block. If you are going in tournaments, you may want to zig on that one. Just play a few bucks, hope something funky happens, and you will all of a sudden be in the top 20%. In theory.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's a spot that you want to target, like you said, with that limited price differential in that format. And that's something I'm intrigued by as you're talking about it. I might check that out tomorrow. Getting off of max in that format is a gigantic differentiator for you. And he's a great pitcher. It's a good spot, but we can't lock in that he's going to be excellent tomorrow. We can't even lock in that he's going to be good. So you're talking about a wide range of possibilities there, wide range of outcomes that you can capture just by getting off of him. And then you can upgrade your bats with the extra money. So that's a great call. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and now granted the tournaments aren't large, but they've got a $5 tournament with $5,000 prize pool. You have to beat 1,189 people, and you win. You win $1,000. That's a winnable contest. 35 entry max. They have a single entry $12. 98 people. First place is 120. But it's very flat payout. 120 to first, 103 to second, 90 to third, 80 to fourth. This is not a bad way to go. It pays out 23.5% of the field. Min cash is 1.5. If you are willing to go a little different and just say, hey, you know what? I'm waving off Scherzer. I'm hoping something odd happens. In that 20% chance that something odd does happen, he doesn't have as good of a start. Your pitcher actually kind of maintains with him. Something with there's no weather, but something with just something happens. All of a sudden you're in play to 10x your entry fee, and you only have to beat 98 other people. Just saying, these are when you guys look at who's up at the top and who's doing this, and these guys always win. You're forgetting you're seeing these guys always at the bottom when they're not always at the top. So that's the risk you need to be willing to take for some of these. So just throwing it out there. Stay within your means, but there's a way to get a quick boost. So
for sure, little bankroll builders like that are great. You can pick off some good value in a tournament like that, and especially in a flat payout where, if like you said, if you do capture that slice where the 20% outcome, even if you're not winning the tournament, that's gonna put you firmly into the money in a tournament like that, and you're gonna get a decent little payout for your investment. So that's a great way to build a bankroll.
All right, now the main slate. We're going to have some fun here. We are going to talk pitching. We're going to go through it all. I do want to point out that SuperDraft, our sponsor of the Early Bird podcast, is starting at 7:10. They're skipping the 7:05 game, which is Minnesota and Pittsburgh. That's to give you a chance to hop on over there and jump into their contests. They do have late swap, and their contests have generally don't fully fill. So while you're not always getting, quote, rake free, there's usually still room in their contests. It's one of the little prices that you get to pay as a new site, but it's also a marketing tool, and the sites understand that. So they try to get it as close as they can, but they'll welcome the overlay. They know that it's bringing people back day after day. So definitely check that out. And they're also going for NHL and for NBA, they're generally lopping off whatever the first game of the slate is, which the other sites are using for their main slates. And this is giving you a chance to hop on over there and jump in because they know they're not going to compete directly with the other sites if people are putting a lot more money in there. So check that out. If you haven't signed up yet, promo code Awesemo10. That's Awesemo10. Put in $10 with your first deposit using that promo code. You get $10. Put in 100. They'll give you 20. Same promo code, Awesemo10, Awesemo10. All right, 80 degrees in Pittsburgh. No issues with the remnants of rain that are working its way up the East Coast. You are correct. I was way off on my pronunciation of hurricane, and now I can't remember what it is, but nobody will have ever heard my mispronunciation besides you. But
that's right. That one was just between us. We didn't have to reveal that.
Exactly. But full transparency here. You've got Randy Dobnak. You've got Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams, 5,900 going against the tough Twins lineup. Trevor Williams, can he get us some ground balls? Can he get us some soft and medium contact to survive in this one at 5,900 as an SP2?
At 5,900 as an SP2 is probably the only way I would consider it. It's not a good spot. He is not a pitcher that we really tend to go to in DFS. Not a great strikeout guy. Like you said, he's going to rely on having to get those ground balls. He's projected for a season-long 502 FIP from Steamer, 673 K per nine. So just not a super strong option. Not somebody I'm going to look to at his $6,200 price tag on the one-pitcher site. But as a sneaky guy and very limited, one of your 5%er type guys, it's certainly a guy you can stick in and hope that you catch those odd outcomes. It's not a guy I'm going to look to, not a guy I'm going to target. But if he sneaks into a couple of lineups, I'm not going to click him out of there. Let's put it that
way. All right. And then any interest in Dobnak?
Not really. I don't really know. I think he's getting the full workload here, but he's just not a guy that has earned any trust from me yet. Doesn't get great projections. He's another guy around a 5 season-long FIP, another 6.24 K per nine. So through his minor leagues, we've seen him around 20% strikeouts, too many walks. Don't know how many innings he's going to get. Just not a real recipe for success. The Pirates' bats are not really a lineup that I ever, is eye-popping to me when I see a mediocre to bad pitcher going against them. It's still not some lineup that jumps up my list. But in this spot, there are a few bats I might take a peek at tomorrow. Josh Bell, Colin Moran, Brian Reynolds, kind of a stack, maybe Kevin Newman up there at shortstop. So there's some options in that Pittsburgh lineup that I might poke around at in this matchup.
All right, let's maneuver along here to our next game. We are heading to Cleveland, where we have Mike Clevenger taking on Luis Castillo. Castillo gets a tiny bit of a park upgrade, moving out of the Great American Ballpark. It's going to be 73 degrees in Cleveland. No precipitation, light, tiny little breeze coming in from left field, 4 to 7 miles an hour. Luis Castillo, 8,700. That's quite interesting. Clevenger, 9,200. Also interesting. I'm good with either of these guys. We're getting a bit of a discount here. And as I have talked about on a few shows, I am sort of eschewing pitching at this point. I don't know that there are trustworthy aces. Too many odd things have happened. So I'm trying to find guys that will make it twice through the batting order and have strikeout upside. So I'm looking for guys that are going to get 80 to 90 pitches as what I feel their likely outcome. We have more on this slate than we did on Tuesday and on Monday, but that's my operative way of going. So I'm okay with both these guys. I'm feeling really good that in normal August years, these guys would be 5 figures on DK. They'd be about 9,800 to 10,300. But we've got the universal DH, and nobody's fully stretched out, or so it seems. How do you feel about this pair of guys? We have a basically even pick 'em, 4 implied run total on each side.
It's funny. I almost forgot entirely about the universal DH just because of all the interleague play. It's like everybody's playing everybody anyway. So, but that's an interesting point. It does have a little impact on the National League pitchers' numbers. You said we're struggling to find aces. There might not be aces this year. One thing I wrote down for each of these guys in my notes was ace level. Hey, so these guys to me are still, they're super strong pitchers. They're aces for their teams. very, very good starters here. Castillo was 28.9% strikeout, a little high on the walks, 10.1% in 2019. He's pumped that up to 33% in his 2 starts over 2020. So super small sample size there, but just very good strikeout option. Tough lineup to go up against for him for sure. Not a lot of Ks in the top of that Indians lineup, like we've talked about, going around the horn in that infield. They limit the strikeouts, but he can make up a lot of ground in that department in the back end of that Indians lineup. So I like him to put up a very nice game. A little more expensive on FanDuel. He's 9,900 over there, but I think it's well worth paying for. Clevenger, similar kind of story, similar kind of pitcher. 126 innings in 2019. He was 33% strikeout, 7.4% walk, 2.49 FIP. Gorgeous year in his 2018, which was a full season. He was 25 and a half strikeouts, so a little bit closer to league average, but just very, very good pitcher, still emerging to a degree. So I think this is a lineup that he can get to. They're basically fully deployed, I think. I don't think we got Joey Votto came back, so I think we've got most of the hitters here. But there are a decent amount of strikeouts in this lineup. It's a lineup I think Clevenger can get to. These are, on this slate, 2 of my top 4 projected FanDuel pitchers. So these are guys I'm going to be targeting tomorrow, even at the increased price on FanDuel. At the discounted price on DK, I absolutely love it, even against these lineups.
All right, and then just for perspective, where I had said I'm kind of waving off pitching on DK main slate on tonight Tuesday. I have 5% Gaussman and I've got 7% Herman Marquez. I'm embracing this now. I've capped both those guys at those levels, because I didn't want more than that. But I'm willing to have this stuff kind of spread out, because basically nobody's going to roster either of those guys. 1-2% of the field maybe on the full slate. So if they do okay and nobody breaks the slate as a pitcher, have a solid chance. So just saying, this is, if you're making a lot of lineups, this is one way to approach things. And you can make a lot of lineups by going down in your buy-in levels, and therefore make more lineups to have the same amount in play. Looks like our home run calls did pretty good tonight. Mine did anyway. Matt Adams. Finally, I'm off the schneid. Day 11. Nice. We didn't make picks all these days, but this is my first home run. And then he said, you know what? Go ahead and pinch hit for me. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, gotta love the DH getting pinch hit for. So there we go. He did his job.
He's a big guy. He got tired, okay?
Absolutely. All right. Let's continue along here. Oh, and both those guys should see 90 to 95 pitches. That's the other key thing. Next one we have is Hyun Ryu going against Sean Newcomb. Sean Newcomb becomes interesting because he's 6,000 even on DraftKings. Why is he 6,000 even? Well, we can't really trust him. But he is going to go against the Toronto Blue Jays, who have been struggling. We know they're talented. We know they've got a lot of good hitters, but they're young and they're inconsistent. And the back half of their lineup can be a little dicey with Brandon Drury, Danny Jansen, Teoscar Hernandez, Rowdy Tellez. Those guys really aren't people that you write home about. But of course, Bo Bichette, Kevon Biggio, and Vladimir Guerrero are just going to be phenomenal, but they're all in their second year here, so they've got a ways to go before they start to even out. So do you go to Newcomb on FanDuel? Does he make your cutoff there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He's 5,800, but he's a pitcher I like. I actually had him in dynasty leagues a couple years ago. Thought we were going to get some growth out of him, but he just hasn't shown it to us yet. He's a very vulnerable pitcher. He hasn't reached the 5th inning yet this year. He was beat up by this same Mets team just the other day. Not that we really want to focus on recent results or anything, but it is something we saw. But more to the point, for his career, he's a 22.8% strikeout guy, which is okay, but he's an 11.5% career walk. That is just unsustainable career walk, which equally comes out to a 1.40 whip for his career. So, I mean, this is just not a guy we can rely on at all. He's going to give these guys a ton of opportunity. And I just realized I said the Mets lineup and he's pitching against the Blue Jays.
Well, to be fair, his first 2 starts were against the Mets in a home and home. It just and Toronto wears blue, and it's kind of the same blue as the Mets. So yes, we can get that. I'll allow
that up for me. What a pro! So yeah, I mean, Newcomb is just not a guy. Most of the year out of the pen last year, and seems like he's. I think the blurb on MLB.com said he seems like he's gunning for the role of opener, and that kind of seems like how he's pitching right now. So not a guy I'm going to be looking at. Ryu on the other side, if you're building Excel sheets or using Excel to work with anything for FanDuel, just be aware they changed his naming convention. They took the dash out of his name, which really screwed me up today. But he's a pitcher I like in general. Not sure if I like him in this spot. He's given up 8 runs in 9 innings so far as a Blue Jay, 9 strikeouts. Again, not what we want to pay attention to. His first full year since 2013, last year in 2019, he had a 3.10 FIP, 22.5 strikeout, very good, very low walk rate, limited walks to 3.3% last year. So very, very strong in the walks department, doesn't put a lot of guys on base, limits opportunities. But these Braves do have bats that can get to him. They can limit strikeouts to a degree in the middle of the lineup. They've got a couple very big strikeout guys like our boy Matt Adams there, who probably won't be in the lineup against a lefty. But I think this is a team that can get to him enough that I'm not going to really be shooting for him, and he doesn't project well for me. He's actually further down the list than I thought. He was like 9th on my FanDuel list, something like that. The guys from the other slate are mixed in there now, so it's a little screwy, but not a guy I'm targeting tomorrow.
All right, your DraftKings take from me is don't want Ryu at 9,500. I will entertain Newcomb. In his first 2 starts, 79 and 82 pitches. Again, I'm embracing this. This would probably be a 5. I might even go 10% with him. What I've done on the other guys where we're seeing a lot of congregation of popularity, I've kind of been capping my main people at 30%. Today, I think there were 5 or 6 pitchers that were going to be between 25 and 40%. I went with all of them at 30. And I just said, okay, I'll be a little over potentially. Now, I have larger caps than that, so it may not have hit that 30% on some of them. But my thought was I'll be a little bit under, which I'm okay with, but close to the quote better pitchers. And I'll be ahead a little bit on ones that people aren't that quite as high on, but have exactly the same chance of in looking at them as an entire group as doing just as well as any of the in that 5 or 6 handful. So that's an approach I'm gonna play with and see how long it goes. So it's kind of my 2-tiered approach: the Coors Field and scary spots 5%, maybe 10, and then kind of capping out at 30. Because the only thing I've broken on this for the last 4 days was Montas, and I went 50% on him. But that was just
and you were smarter about that than I was.
I lucked out. To be fair, lucked out on that one.
I raved about him on the pod on Sunday with Jason, and then I had such a limited amount of him somehow in my lineups yesterday. And of course, he was the top scoring guy on this slate. It's just shot myself in the foot on that one. I don't know what I did.
All right, on to our next one. So pricing's going to keep me away from you, Darvish. We have the Kansas City Royals hosting the Chicago Cubs. It is going to be 80 degrees at game time. We've got, I believe the starter is going to be Darvish.
That's who I have.
Okay. And then it's funny that all these sites aren't caught up with each other. And then Chris Bubic at 6,400 on DK is the starter for the Royals. If we look at what Bubic did, he had 76 pitches. This is kind of where I would call a semi-scary spot because it's the Cubs. I would be, and they have a 5+ implied run total. This would be a 5 to 7% pitcher for me, but as an SP2, I'm totally comfortable with that. Darvish just going to be a little too expensive for my tastes at this point.
So yeah, I don't dislike what you're saying about Bubic. Do we know if it's Bubic or Bubic? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
One of those Eastern European looking names. Anyway,
all I can think of is Die Hard. Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight.
Nice. Dynamite reference.
Yes. Before I get killed because,
Ellis. Oh, man. So, yeah, Bubic. I have Booby. I think, in that kind of a capacity, yeah, I think you can use him, roll him out on a limited amount on DK. And like you're saying, get to a wide pool because we're just looking for those guys who are going to get us some innings this year. We're looking for guys who are going to throw 90 pitches and get through 5-6 innings. On FanDuel, you're shooting for that 6-inning quality start bonus, so it makes sense to maybe pay attention to more of the aces on FanDuel. And then on DK, you can mix in a lot of the mid to bottom level guys and hope that you pick off a good start. And, don't do it in too many lineups. Don't carve too much out of the top end pitchers like you were talking about. Leave enough there that if those guys hit, you're still in the game. But yeah, make room for guys like him. So I don't dislike that over there. FanDuel, I'm not going to go that way. FanDuel, I am going to go the Yu Darvish direction. 9,500, a little bit of a price tag on it, but compared to, is right in range with all the other guys, right? Is Castillo's 400 more. You've got Bundy is 500 less. You've got Clevenger is 100 more. So I've got him third overall projected, right in that same group. Dynamite pitcher. Really came back healthy last year. Put up 31 starts, 178 innings. Great sign for this guy. You know, people were worried about him going into last year, what his longevity was going to look like. Came back 31% strikeout. That swing and miss slider is still there. So all the stuff is still there. It's a pitcher I love. As long as he's healthy, I'm going to go to him.
All right, moving right along here. Milwaukee at the Chicago White Sox. We have Adrian Hauser at 8,100. Hauser threw 68 pitches in his only appearance so far this year. Remember, he's a lights out reliever that has sort of converted to a starter. Run into a little bit of trouble, but that's change in pitching style, change in strategy. Can't go as hard as you do for as short of a period. You got to make your stuff last. So that is Cialis, the sponsor of the show. In any event, here on the other side, you have Dallas Keuchel. 92 pitches against Kansas City, 73 against Minnesota, a grand total of 3 strikeouts in 10 2/3 innings. Not very exciting there. And he's someone that relies heavily on the ground ball. 23 ground ball outs already this season. So he is against 9 fly ball outs. He's going to be a 5 to 10% pitcher for me, but it's because I don't see upside for him. And to me, that's kind of our key. Will he implode? Probably not. Will he get, so far 1 strikeout and 2 strikeouts in his first 2 starts? I'll set the number at 3.5. What do you think he does on Wednesday?
I'll take the under.
Okay. And strikeouts are king. They're the currency of the realm in daily fantasy baseball. So
for sure. And even against this Brewers lineup, where there are a decent amount of strikeouts, I just don't see it. He's just not that guy. He'd probably induce a ton of ground balls. If you want to do an over on that, it might be a better number. But he's a guy that it makes sense, like you said, to mix him in a little bit tomorrow. He could put up a decent enough start where you're getting a quality point total. And if some of the other aces go pop on us, a quality point total might be enough. You're not going to get that add-on from the strikeouts, though, from this guy. So you really got to watch out. And we're really hoping that he goes a full 6-7 innings, doesn't give up a lot of hits, gets a lot of ground balls, gets a lot of outs, doesn't go into deep into these innings. Hauser on the other side, a pitcher I do like in general, but I think he's still got to show me coming out as a starter. I want to see it before I really go to it in too much weight. He's 23% strikeout, 9% walks, so that'll translate to a league average-ish kind of a starter. So I want to see him really prove it. He's got a 4.52 FIP projection, 7.9K projection. So again, league average-ish type numbers. Walks a few too many guys in the starting role. So the White Sox are a lineup I love getting to this year, but I might not go too heavy into them either, just because he is a guy who could step up and put up a big game. So this might be a spot where I'm just not going to either side of it in too much weight. I'll have a little bit here and there, but not one of my favorite places on the board.
All right, our next one here, we're now in Coors Field. We have Logan Webb and John Gray. Logan Webb, rather cheap. I will still leave him at 5. I might chicken out and put him at 3%. The issue with him, let's see, through his last, I guess this is his last season and in one start this year, he's faced just over 200 batters. He has a 20% strikeout rate, which is a tiny bit below what league average is now, nearly a 10% walk rate. He does have a 50% ground ball rate. You are going to get probably 60-65 pitches out of him. I don't really want those at Coors Field, though. On the other side, we have John Gray, who has been one of those guys that's been hit or miss, with our Coors Field pitchers, but he's someone I feel a little bit more trustworthy of. Over his last 700 batters faced, a 4.1 xFIP, which helps kind of level and neutralize what's going on in Coors Field. A 23% strikeout rate, that's a little above league average. 8.8 walk rate is not great. The 40% hard contact rate, not that great either, but just a 27% fly ball rate. Okay, that still leaves room for gaps, doubles, the Brandon Belt special, right. But I'm okay with about 10% of John Gray because he's got a 7 in front of his price tag on DraftKings. I'm assuming you're not entertaining either one of these guys for FanDuel, but do you have any thoughts on either one to exploit or to say nice things?
I will toy with a little John Gray on FanDuel, actually. He's only at 6,300. So, I mean, there's, and I'm a guy, I'll leave salary on the table all day long in baseball, but that's advantageous. You can get to, I haven't looked at how the stacks come together, but with a Coors game, some of his teammates are pricey. Some of the other bats on the slate are going to be pricey. So he lets you do basically anything you want with stacks. Like you mentioned, he's a strong XFIP guy, 3.42 home XFIP. So, I mean, that is very strong for Coors Field. He's a guy who knows how to pitch in Coors Field. 4.34 ERA overall. Last year, he was a 3.89 XFIP, so around league average strikeouts, but a guy who knows how to work in that ballpark, and not somebody I'm afraid to roster. I'm not going to go nuts with it. It's somebody I'll limit. Like you said, they can still – he gets ground balls, but they can still get to a lot of gaps. It's a huge park. It plays that way. So you see a ton of doubles and triples there. It plays ways that other parks don't play. But I think we can use him here. Logan Webb, I'm not going to touch, even at 5,500. Everything I said about Gray's price tag, I don't really care about with Logan Webb here. Just not an option for me.
All right. Let's see here. With regards to the implied run total, we're looking at about a 12 again. Some of these overnight totals have been kind of off. I was been using those as placeholders, but I do want to point one thing out. Both of these, the relievers that make up the bullpens for both of these teams, basically are bottom 10 in all metrics, both advanced metrics and standard metrics. So once we get past, in John Gray's case, the starter, it's not like there's reinforcements coming in per se. So we saw that throughout the last series where most of the scoring was done after the fifth inning. We'll have to see what happens in this series, but just a reminder, even if you're out or you feel like you're out at the first part of these games, we've seen tons of crooked numbers end up at the end of the night with scores coming into the top of the fifth, bottom, or top of the sixth, bottom of the fifth, and they've been like 4 total runs across the teams, and they end up with 12 or 13. So hang tight, buck up, little campers.
Those are always fun, though, right? You put your phone down for a little while or your computer, and then you come back to it 2 hours later, and what the hell happened?
Hey, I'm back.
Yeah, how did this get there? Always good when it's on the upside of it.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got a few more games to go here. Let's see. What do we want to tell you? Anything important? Probably that we've got some free articles in front of the paywall. We've got Spotlight Hitters and Stacks. That's written by me. That comes out the night before. Terry does an overview article focusing on home runs and power upside for the teams. Some stacking, but you take a little bit different lean than I do, so they're definitely different articles. And then you also have a leverage versus our stack tool article that comes out in the afternoon of each game. And then Austin Varney has been doing the Spotlight Pitchers article. So those are all in front of the paywall. Those are good for two things. One, there's some nice information in there and it's free. And two, that's where you can find any of our promo codes, the deals that we have with SuperDraft, etc. All the information for that is going to be in the top third of those articles. So if you want to say, oh, what was the promo code or what good deals going on, you can always check the top of those articles. And that's where they'll be. And you'll find those on the homepage. We put out a ton of content right now with all the sports in action. But if you go to the Awesemo homepage and you don't see it, which you probably won't, just click on the little tab that says baseball and then articles, and the world will open up for you. Because there are generally 4 or 5 baseball articles per day, plus cheat sheets, and then that's all in front of the paywall, and then all the behind the paywall stuff. So definitely check that out. All right, Terry, let's go to our second half. Here we are going to the 9-10 games. There are 3 9-10 games and a 9-40 game in Seattle. Nice little late slate here. I do not have pitching listed yet for the Dodgers.
I have Ross Stripling, and Garrett Richards. I'm willing to be wrong.
Just checking. It's funny because all of our usual sources, they don't always have everything. Yes, Stripling and Garrett Richards is on the MLB lineups page, and that is also what is showing in DraftKings. So, Stripling 7,800 going against San Diego. This will be his third start of the season. He has gone 86 and 92 pitches. To me, feels relatively good. I'm thinking like he's going to be around a 20% pitcher for me. I'm okay if the field's higher than that by 5% or lower than 5%, but that's about where I think he's going to come in at that price point. So I'm good with that. Garrett Richards, a little bit tougher here. Don't like tangling with the Dodgers, but he has gone 90 pitches in his most recent start, 73 in his first start. He is 6,200, and it is San Diego where it is 69 degrees. So that is relatively cooler. There are DHs this year. I do want to call that out, but those guys are both in play. We're looking at a 4.4 implied run total for Los Angeles, 3.8 for San Diego, so one of our lower run totals.
Yeah, suppressed run totals there. That's, I guess, a little bit on the park factor and some quality pitching in this one. And yeah, I like both pitchers. Richards is a guy who he pitched. What did he go? He 200 innings last in 2015, and somewhere around like 150 innings in the 5 years since.
An Angels pitcher who had injury history? Stop me if you've heard this story before.
So nice to see him back here, and especially it's good to see that he got a good workload the first start. So hopefully we can trust it. If the arm doesn't fall off, he's a pitcher I like. He's a guy who can tough matchup. Not a lot of strikeouts from 2 through 5 in that Dodgers, or 2 through 4 rather, in that Dodgers projected lineup. But he's a guy I think they can do some work in the back end here, pick up some Ks for you, put up a good game for 7K on 7,000 on FanDuel. I don't hate it. I'll have some. Stripling, I like. Workhorse Ross Stripling. Who would have thought it? But he's getting most of the action for the Dodgers right now. So he's a guy, 3.52 career xFIP, very good numbers, 25 to 27% strikeout the last 3 years. Went 7 innings, like you said, in one of his starts. So yeah, I'll be on board. And in a pitcher's park against this lineup with a low run total, I see no reason to avoid it at 8,700. And I am getting a low projection on it now that just jumped out at me. So I'm gonna have to poke at that. I'm guessing he's got a broken run innings projection in my model here. So I'm glad I caught that. But yeah, that's a pitcher I definitely want to get to. And the pitching matchup's going to maybe keep me off of these bats a little bit more than it normally does.
All right, our next matchup here, we have Sean Manaea at 8,600 on DraftKings. Remember, he's coming off an injury. He was a phenomenal pitcher, was injured better part of last year. We're paying an awful lot for past history. 8,600 against Texas. I'm not really a fan of that. He went 69 pitches against Seattle, allowed 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, but only 8 DK points. Went 4 1/3 in against the Angels. He went 4 2/3 in his first appearance. 55 pitches, did allow a home run and 4 earned runs, 3 strikeouts there. If he was 6,600, different song I would be singing. At 8,600, not really for me on the main slate. Let him go 5%, but I'm not really that worried about it. On the late slate, he'll probably be a 10 or a 15% on the 2-pitcher site, but that's still keeping him under, just because I don't like that allocation of what he's doing. 2 years ago, phenomenal pitcher when he was healthy. Right now, not so much. Kyle Gibson, sort of an intriguing guy, went 93 pitches in his last outing. Yes, tough matchup here against Oakland, but they're going to be very righty heavy. I'm good with that for Gibson. We talked in the Lost podcast about Lance Lynn, and these guys are both very similar righty styles. So I'm okay with this 8,200. I think on the main slate he's probably going to be about a 20% guy for me. On the late slate he'll probably be my most owned pitcher, or second most owned pitcher, up in that 35-45% range.
Interesting. I like those allocations at those prices. I think what I heard in there too is that I can probably sell you a Sean Manaea at 6,800 on FanDuel. Is that something I might be able
Yes. To? Now, can we port that over to DK? I'm in. Reverse those numbers. I'm out. So there we go.
The way sites are handling things, you never know these days. Yeah. But I like that spot much, much better on the blue site for Manaea. Very good lefty against lefties. So he's going to take a lot of the left-handed power out of this lineup, which I like. Take a guy like Joey Gallo, who strikes out 36% of the time, and put him up against a guy who limits lefty home runs to a career mark of 0.66 home runs per 9. I like that spot. Manaea is a guy, his strikeout numbers have come down. He's not going to be dealing probably like he was a couple years ago, like you said. But I like the spot for him. And at that price tag, I'm probably going to go to it a fair amount. He's got a mid-range, middling 4.64 FIP projection from Steamer, but a higher than I expected 7.47 K per 9 projection. So guy that I like to pick up a decent number of strikeouts for you and probably put up a sneaky little start here against the Rangers at that price. The Gibson side, definitely 7,800 on FanDuel. I like the price. I like the spot. All those righty bats for the A's. So I think he matches up well here. I'm definitely going to get to him. Hopefully not in as much capacity as I had Lynn, I don't think, tonight, which was around like 32% on FanDuel, which is a lot for me. But I'll have a fair amount of Gibson, I think.
All right, and then just had this thought for those of you. I'm trying this new thing here with the percentages and kind of where I think I'm going to be going. In prior years, to fill this out, I used to go much more aggressive on my 6 to 8 key pitchers that I liked, and then I let the differentiation come from the bats. At this point in time, especially since we've been rolling through a nice Coors Field homestand, I've taken the opposite approach. I'm going to continue to do so, but just put in the comments on the YouTube channel if you like hearing these percentages. And remember, you need on the 2 pitcher sites to have a total allocation of 200%. So that should help you if I'm saying 5% or 10% that's coming out of the 200. So just for perspective, for my liking or disliking of someone, because we got to talk about it again here. Lance McCullers going against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We do know that the roof is closed for this series. McCullers has had some nice pitch counts, 91 and 92. He went in Anaheim, kind of got knocked around a little bit, made it 4 innings, allowed 4 runs and a home run. The walks have been an issue this year. He's gone 10 total innings with 7 walks. That's not good. He does have 10 strikeouts in those 10 innings to kind of offset that somewhat, but his performances have been somewhat mediocre. So he is going to get 90 to 95 pitches would be my guess. 8,300, I'm okay with that. I'm not excited by this because I do think that the Arizona Diamondbacks are decent with it now that they've got Starling Marte and Ketel Marte and some of their other guys. They're sort of reloading after giving up A.J. Pollock and Paul Goldschmidt, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't really know where to land on this one. So I'm curious to see what Adam in particular has to say about McCullers and obviously what Terry has to say. Robbie Ray on the other side, I was ready to completely wave him off. He has given up 3 home runs so far. He's gone 8 1/3 innings. He has gone 94 and 97 pitches, but 9 walks. So he is averaging more than a walk an inning. That's not good, but he's 6,500. The humidor's chugging along. The roof is closed. It is Houston. It is Houston with their full complement, including the DH, and they're amazing against lefties. This to me feels like Robbie Ray is getting the Coors Field treatment in my book, 5 to 10%. He's someone that last year in 33 starts had 20 starts where he had more than 7 strikeouts. He had 10 starts where he had multiple home runs allowed. So he's all over the place.
That is the story of Robbie Ray. That is too many walks, too many home runs, and then those great strikeout performances. He's not a guy I get to a ton just because of that. I just don't trust the guy. He can be lights out from time to time. He can put up monster slate-breaking performances from time to time with the strikeouts. I just do not trust it. And like you said, against a lineup like these Astros who can get to lefty pitching, I don't think it's the spot for him. Even if he doesn't give up the home run, he's going to be putting guys on base. And this team, even with no trash can, knows how to bring guys around. They know how to drive the ball. So not a spot I'm going to be going. I'll have a little just for some differentiation. I don't want to scare anybody completely off it. And 7,200 is a good price tag on FanDuel, but it's not a target for me. McCullers, on the other hand, guy that I like. We've, like you said, suffered from the walk so far this year. It's something we were kind of expecting. He's a 3, 4, 5 walk projection from Steamer. So guy with a lot of hype coming in, I felt like. Guy that's had some season-long buzz, and people remembered that, I think. I think they were excited to roster him. So maybe they're a little bit disappointed in him here. Maybe they go away from him a little bit in what's not a great spot, not a great matchup. Guys in this lineup for the Diamondbacks can limit the strikeout. You mentioned they've replaced some of that quality. They've got a decent lineup, and not a killer lineup, but certainly decent. But even with that, McCullers projects as my third highest projected pitcher on FanDuel tomorrow. So that's a spot I'm interested in. I'm going to poke at it a little bit. I'm going to see what Alex thinks in the top pitchers tool, which has become an important part of my day and my process. But yeah, it's not something I'm writing off by any means. And right now it's looking pretty strong.
All right, our last game of the night, familiar matchup here. Dylan Bundy, his last start was against Seattle. So will this start. Last one was home. This one will be in Seattle. He has gone 90 pitches in each of his 2 outings. Was adequate against Seattle last year, or in his last start. Allowed 3 earned runs, 1 home run, just 2 walks. His only 2 walks of the season. 8 strikeouts, which is very solid. And again, he's not pitching in the AL East. Camden Yards is no longer his home ballpark. Even though he has allowed the most home runs over the last 2 seasons of any pitcher in the game, it's still okay to go with him, especially in my opinion in Seattle. He is 9,000. That's up $800 on DraftKings. I made him a more focal point in his last start, but if I remember correctly, that was on somewhat of a shorter slate. Like maybe there were only 6 or 8 games total, and there were some other poor pitchers, so that made me go that route. I'm not pushing the chips in on the table here. He will probably be someone in the 25% range for me. We'll see how things shake out. If Coors Field wasn't on the slate, it might be something different if I didn't have somewhere where I really wanted my bats to go. But in this case, at 9,000, not really the fun one for me. Marco Gonzalez on the other side here. He actually faced the Angels, of course, in his last start as well. Ended up striking out 6. That's not something we see a lot from him. He has mediocre home run I'm not saying this, said that backwards. Righties can get to him. It's not a horrible home run problem. Lefties also get to him a little bit above average with regards to home run as well. Yeah. He has a little bit more strikeout upside than the average pitcher, so he's not bad. He is showing flashes, but then they disappear for weeks at a time. If his control is on, he's okay. We're looking at an Angels lineup that probably will be without Shohei Ohtani, but Mike Trout is back. They've also called up their rookie, or they bought out his contract, whatever they're calling it at this point, outfielder. Let's start off with Gonzalez. What do you want to do with this Angels lineup? It's seemingly like everybody's banged up or old all of a sudden.
It does, except now they've brought up a 2,100 on FanDuel and probably around that same kind of a level on DraftKings priced Jo Adell to play in their outfield. This kid is an absolute masher of a slugger, of a home run hitter. His 70 grade power for raw power existing, 70 grade game power upside in traditional scouting. Proved it through the minors. He rocketed through their system in just like a year and a half, 2 years at this point in the season with the call-up. But just a kid that I expect the world from, and so do the Angels. So I want to be targeting Marco Gonzalez with some of these right-handed Angels bats. If I can make a stack with Trout, Rendon, Jo Adell, and I don't really care who else, I'm going to be doing it. That's a spot I want to get to. Like you said, Marco does limit the home runs against right-handers. His 1.01, I think, was his career mark against right-handers. But there are right-handed bats, and then there are bats like these. So these are right-handed bats. I think they can certainly get to him. And then his career mark against lefties was 1.23 home runs per 9, and only an 18% career strikeout guy. So I think some of the lefties in this lineup could be sneaky. Probably not going to be Ohtani, but you get a La Stella. You get
Jason Castro.
You get a Jason Castro. Exactly. I have an uncomfortable amount of Castro tonight. So I think I'm going to be right back to the Angels. Alex loved them on the stack tool today. We were talking about it before the show, and I think they're going to be right back up there tomorrow. So I think this is a spot I'm going to be targeting their bats. On the other side, Dylan Bundy, maybe, possibly, finally becoming the Dylan Bundy that Dylan Bundy was supposed to be. It's starting to emerge. So hopefully that's the kid that we're getting. Strikeouts and very limited to 2020 so far, 31%. Walks are down. So those are good signs. This is what we want. The price tag's a little big, $9K. I think I heard that's what it was on the other side too. So $9K on both sites. But it's a spot I think I'm going to get to. It's a kid I really, really like. I like his upside. Have for years. Against this lineup, I think he can get him. There's a ton of strikeouts available. Kyle Lewis is an emerging star in that lineup, but strike out around 30% of the time. Everybody else in that lineup is over 22% projected strikeouts. Not a ton of pop in that lineup, so I think he can get to him. I don't want to make the same mistake I did with Frankie Montas, so mark it down. I'm going to be rostering some Dylan Bundy tomorrow.
All right, and Adele, hello, 3,000.
3,000?
Yeah, that was for you,
wow.
Seth. I know, Seth, you caught that one. All right, last thing, and this is a freebie. I'm giving this one away to you guys. Did you know? I didn't until I just read this on the promo sheet. Did you know that we are providing free Awesemo player projections right now for NBA, MLB, PGA, and MMA on our Instagram page? Ah,
We have an Instagram page.
we do. I allegedly have an Instagram account. I was trying to look at pictures from relatives, but I don't know how to log into it anymore. And I couldn't figure out. All I had was this stupid orange thing kept popping up with the little Instagram. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? So that was my Instagram. I'm the wrong age group for this. So
I think I am too.
if you're looking for free, however, it does say this. Now, I don't know how often they're updated and all of that, but even if you're just getting our baseline projections, and with the way everybody likes to put, 10% randomness on this, especially for baseball or hockey, where you get kind of different range of outcomes, close enough, in my opinion,
sure.
if you want to take a spin there. So definitely check that out. Yeah, that's a new one.
But those are only actually free on Instagram if you click the little thumbs up on YouTube. That's what I heard.
Oh, that's right. It's a double trigger. So you'll definitely want to check that out. So that will do it for us. Reminder, you got all kinds of shows. We brought back the MLB strategy show. And hat tip to Alex Baker, who managed to be on 3 different shows today because we had power outages up and down the East Coast impacting several of our normal hosts. It looks like most everybody's back online as of tonight, but 2 people still are not. So we'll see who's in the cast of thousands tomorrow. But you're going to get the baseball strategy show. You're going to get the NBA live before lock. There's probably an NBA strategy show in there as well. And then you're going to get the MLB live before lock. We've got the content. We've got it for you guys. Check it out. It's over there at Awesemo. With that, gamers, good luck.